Hey, welcome sports fans to today's Sports Roundtable. Glad you joined us here on this Saturday morning as we are well into the fall sports season here in southeast Missouri, northeast Arkansas, and big games last night throughout the area in high school football. We're going to get to those results from week 3 in high school football last night throughout the area, and also we're going to bring you some highlights of the broadcast we brought live to you last night. New Madrid County Central versus Dexter at Charles Bland Stadium in Dexter, and a good one to bring it to you last night. We'll have some highlights of that one here momentarily. Also, we're going to take a look at the football state rankings for this week. We've seen some local teams get into those top 10 polls for the state of Missouri. Very exciting, as we've got quite a few teams doing really well here early on here in southeast Missouri. And also, we're going to take a look at some other highlights from the area. We're going to give you some volleyball results from this week, also fall baseball and softball, and even boys soccer for this week. So a whole lot going on, and all the full sports in full swing now here a couple weeks into the fall sports season. So very exciting, seeing a lot of good teams early on across all sports, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this sports season develops certainly this fall going forward. Also, going to take a little look at the college football and NFL games taking place this weekend. Big games here locally, our local colleges, and some big matchups. We'll be taking a look at those later on in the program as well. We're glad you joined us. Be sure to tune in. Coming out a little late this morning, a little technical problem getting the highlight together this morning. But Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. each Saturday morning. Tune in to get a recap of the week's sports, especially the high school football games throughout the area for each Friday night. And we'll bring it to you live right here on Channel 21 on your new wave cable, yhctv.com, and also our YouTube and Facebook pages online as well. So let's get into last night's games in the area in high school football, taking a look at the game that we brought live to you last night here on YHC. New Madrid County Central over Dexter decisively, 43-15. New Madrid County Central exploded in the second half. We had a 15-15 game at half, and it was all New Madrid County Central Eagles in the second half, putting up 28 unanswered points in that second half, and New Madrid County Central rolls to 3-0, an impressive victory last night. Let's take a look at the highlight from that contest last night. And first starting off here is going to be the first score of the evening, Mason Keena with the touchdown along the left side, and New Madrid County Central going to come back with a drive of their own. Kenyon King goes down the right sideline on a slant pattern from Matt Riley, gets inside the 5-yard line, and a few plays later they're just going to hand it off to Quazavion Jackson, takes it in for the touchdown, and with the 2-point conversion gives the Eagles the lead. And we see here a botched snap and recovered by the Bearcats, but the Eagles get the ball back on the ensuing possession. Quazavion Jackson breaks 3 tackles, gets into the end zone to expand on the Eagles' lead in the second. But here in the second quarter, a quarterback sneak by quarterback Hayden Hillis gets into the end zone, and here a 2-point conversion is good on the passing play, tying it up at 15-15 going into the second half, and this is where the Eagles start to take off. And as we see here, slant pattern, and Austin takes it in for the touchdown all the way on that slant pattern. Here we see a deep post pattern, and Austin takes it in again on the deep post pattern into the end zone, and 2 straight touchdowns for him on those passing plays. And we see here Bryshon Williams getting that interception in the secondary for the Eagles, taking it in for the pick 6, and really expanding on the lead at this point. And we see here in the fourth quarter, looking into the end zone, Riley with another touchdown pass.
If you or your loved one has disabilities that cause you to need
I believe that was to Austin as well. Big night for him. And passing for Matt Riley. Big game in the passing game as well for the second straight week for Matt Riley. So, it's a tough team. The Madrid County Central showed up and put up some big points, especially in the second half, and clamped down the defense on the Bearcats as well, held them scoreless in the second half. And great effort by the New Madrid County Central Eagles getting an impressive victory on the road against the Bearcats to move to 3-0. We'll talk more about that game in our next segment, but New Madrid County Central victorious in that live broadcast we brought to you last night. And Austin Davis, I said Austin, but Austin Davis with, I think, those 3 touchdowns, and a big night for him for the Eagles. And another game that we were at last night, we brought to you live on the website, yhctv.com, and Pigot's home opener. The Brooklyn Bearcats come to town to Parker Field in Pigot and put up a big number, 35 points on the Pigot Mohawks. Mohawks got a handful of injuries, really hurting them early on this season, and take a loss at home in their home opener to the Brooklyn Bearcats, 35-0. And Pigot moves to 0-2. Took a loss last week to Westside Jonesboro, 14-0, and took a loss to Brooklyn last night. So they look forward to getting their first win against Rector next week. So we'll see what happens there. But Pigot taking that loss to Brooklyn last night in their home opener. And take a look at some other games. Rector getting their first win of the year over Corning. Actually, they had a game last week as well. They just duplicated that this week. Corning got the win last week. Rector gets the shutout victory last night. So the Rector Cougars getting a win in that Clay County Clash. They're in Northeast Arkansas. So Rector, look out for them this year. They got a pretty upper class or senior laden group this year. And Rector might be able to do something there in Class 2A in Northeast Arkansas. And Malden and Portageville, Boot Hill matchup there, and Malden gets a decisive victory over the Portageville Bulldogs, 48-12. Malden getting their first win of the year. Both teams coming in winless in that game at the Swamp last night, and the Malden Green Wave come out victorious, 48-12, decisive victory for the Green Wave. Kennon over St. Genevieve, decisive victory for the Kennon Indians on the road up at St. Gen, and St. Gen looked good early on this year, but I tell you, these Kennon Indians are looking even better and getting a big, and they're getting big performances, but boy, they're spread out. They got a great nucleus of players. They can spread the ball out too on offense, and the defense is really clamping down. They really clamped down on Gosnell last week. He gave up only 1 score late in the game and shut out the Dragons on the road, who got a pretty good passing attack. I tell you, the Gegg kid, Gegg for St. Genevieve quarterback, he's had a really good season early on, but they shut down that passing attack from the Dragons. Got a shutout victory on the road. And look out for these Indians. We've been saying it the last 2 weeks, but looking really good early on, and one of the tougher teams throughout Southeast Missouri so far this year. And Jackson over Cape Central in that rivalry, 35-0, no problem for the Indians, and the Indians looking really good up there in Class 5 in the SEMO North Conference. So Jackson looking to make another great run this year. Crothersville over Valley Catholic, big game there, and they got linked up in their schedule a couple years ago, and it's been a good series so far the last couple of years. And Crothersville gets a narrow victory over now Valley Catholic, 2 of the better teams we have, especially among the small schools. Crothersville gets a narrow victory over Valley Catholic, 38-35. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. Hayti over Chaffee, and a shutout decisive victory for the Indians, 74-0, as Hayti rolls in that victory over Chaffee. Charleston over Doniphan, no problem, 20-0 in a shutout victory against the Doniphan Dons for the Charleston Blue Jays, and Charleston looking really good early on this year. I think they go to 2-1 with that victory over Doniphan. Their only loss coming to Hayti last week. Scott City over East Prairie, 50-21, and Scott City really explodes in the second half in that victory over East Prairie. Looking good there for the Scott City Rams. St. Vincent over Kelly, 42-28. Poplar Bluff over Sykeston, 61-18. Poplar Bluff getting a big victory in that SEMO North Conference, and Poplar Bluff looking really good early on as well. I think they've only taken 1 loss, and that was in the first week. I can't recall who that was, but it was a team up north. I believe it was up around St. Louis, and they got a win against Riverview Gardens last week. So 2-1 start for the Poplar Bluff Mules so far. And let's move on. Those were the football results from last night. Moving on to some volleyball results. Poplar Bluff over Bloomfield, 2-1. Also, we have Gideon over Hawcom, 2-1. We got Advance over Arcadia Valley 2-1. Bernie over Bell City in the Stoddard County Conference 2-0. Woodland over Clearwater 2-0. Jackson over Hillsboro 2-0. Kennett over Malden in the Boot Hill 2-0. Kennett over Malden. Meadow Heights over Scott City 2-0. Saxony Lutheran over Sykeston 2-0. And into fall girls softball, Twin Rivers over Neelyville in a close one, 3-1 over in the Ozark Foothills Conference. Chaffee over Saxony Lutheran, and that one goes for 21-12. Big high-scoring affair there for high school softball. And also in softball, Notre Dame over DeSoto, 10-0. Naylor over Cape Central, 9-7. Jackson over Lynn in a close one, 4-3. And moving into some fall baseball scores from this week. Bloomfield over Leopold, 13-6. Bell City over Gideon in a shutout, 10-0. Naylor over Neelyville over in the Ozark Foothills, 8-3. Fredericktown over Sykeston, moving into some soccer results now. Fredericktown over Sykeston, 5-2. Hannibal over Saxony Lutheran in a close one, 2-1. Notre Dame over McCracken County, that's over in Paducah, and that was 2-0. And Northwest over Poplar Bluff in a close one, 2-0. And those are the all the fall results from later this week in the area. So a lot going on there, and we'll get more into the high school football games and the stories from those in our next segment. But we do want to remind you of the games that we broadcast last night. You can watch them on a replay basis this weekend. New Madrid County Central versus Dexter. Watch that replay today, Saturday at noon, and also Sunday at 3 right here on YHC Channel 21. You can watch that on demand anytime. Go to our website at yhctv.com or our Facebook page or YouTube page, and you can watch that at any point, anytime right now on demand. New Madrid County Central versus Dexter online. So catch that replay over the weekend. And also the Brooklyn and Piggott game. We brought that live on the website last night at yhctv.com. You can watch that replay here on Channel 21 on New Wave Sunday at 6, Sunday evening at 6, and again Tuesday at 6. And we'll probably even do that Monday at 6 as well. So watch that starting Sunday, Brooklyn versus Piggott. And we do have the Raw live stream up on our website at yhctv.com and on our YouTube page as well, but we will have the edited and produced version uploaded by Sunday afternoon on yhctv.com. So you can look forward to that replay over the weekend, Brooklyn versus Piggott, and Piggott's home opener from Friday night. And before we move on, let's actually take a look at our broadcast schedule going forward. And already 3 weeks in now, taking a look at the games we've got coming up. Next Friday night, we've only got one broadcast, and we will bring it to you live right here on Channel 21, yhctv.com, and Facebook Live. That is Chaffee at Portageville. We'll bring that live to you from Vic Reeves Athletic Field in Portageville next Friday night. So look forward to that one. Should be a competitive one. Both teams kind of struggling here early on in the season. And we'll have that one for you next Friday night. Chaffee at Portageville live right here on YHC. Catch it here on Channel 21 on New Wave, as well as YHCTV.com and Facebook Live. And we'll bring it live to you. So look forward to that next week. And looking ahead on the 27th, we got a doubleheader that night. North County at Kennett. Kennett Indians hosting the North County Raiders at Meschery Stadium. We'll bring that live to you on Channel 21, YHCTV.com, and Facebook Live. And that same night, we'll have Crothersville at Portageville. Crothersville at Portageville in that Boot Hill matchup. And that'll be live on the website at YHCTV.com. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with your stories from Friday night. Get into more in detail stories from the Friday night football games in the area. We'll be back with that coming up.
If you or your loved one has disabilities that cause you to need a little help, Boot Hill Area Independent Living Services can provide the assistance you need. At Bales, we want you to have control of your life and assist you in thriving in an independent lifestyle. The Consumer Directed Services Program allows you, the consumer, to choose who assists you in conducting your daily activities. Bales serves Stoddard, Dunklin, New Madrid, and Pemiscot counties. Call or visit our office in Kennett to see how we can help you maintain your independence.
And welcome back, and now let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at those stories from Friday night in the area in high school football, and taking a look at those. Starting off with the New Madrid County Central game over Dexter, as I mentioned in the previous segment, just dominating that second half over the Dexter Bearcats, 43-15, and we had a 15-15 game at half. And New Madrid really turned up the offense, got aggressive in the passing game. Matt Riley to Austin Davis was the connection of the night. I think they linked up on 3 touchdowns, at least 2 I know of. I think that last one might have been Austin Davis as well. But Matt Riley having a big game, as you see there, 3 touchdown passes on the night, throwing for 205 yards. I think he was 15 of 20, 75% completion percentage for 205 yards. That makes 2 straight weeks going over 200 yards passing for the sophomore quarterback Matt Riley. He had 295 last week against the Eagles, going for over 200 last night against the Bearcats on the road. So a great presence by him at the quarterback position. And Matt Riley steps in for Kristen Phillips, quarterback who went down in week 1, but they haven't missed a beat at the quarterback position. Matt Riley stepping in, throwing for 3 touchdowns. Austin Davis, big night, 2 touchdowns, and he's deadly in the passing game. We saw him on both getting a slant pattern, a shallow slant pattern for 1 touchdown, then a deep post pattern for another, and he is deadly in the passing game. Him and Matt Riley have a great connection over the last few weeks, and I'll tell you, look out for those two going forward. They got some big play potential in that passing game. And also notable performances was Avion Jackson going over 100 yards rushing. I think he had about 6.5 yards per rush last night, and over 100 yards rushing from him. So a big time performance from Avion Jackson. We saw it in that replay. I think he broke 3 tackles for one of his scores last night. He had 2 touchdowns rushing. So a big night for him. Bryshon Williams had a big night on both sides of the ball, had a few receptions. Big time defensive game. He had a pick 6 there as defensive back. He read it perfectly. An out route that really got passed to the inside for the Bearcats, and perfect position for him to jump that route, take it all the way into the end zone. Big time performance from him. He had the pick 6 on that interception, but he also had a lot of breakups down the field, passes deflected deep in the secondary. So a great defensive effort on his part. Also had a few receptions as well. Big time performance from him, Bryshon Williams. So great effort by the Eagles, both sides of the ball, especially in the second half. Offense and defense really stepped up. Tyler Fullhart had a great game plan coming in. They executed it well, and you couldn't ask for a better second half from the Eagles. They had 28 unanswered points, and the defense really stifled the Bearcats. The Bearcats did have some just unforced errors, some snaps that got away from them, and had some about 15-yard losses on some bad snaps that really hurt them in the second half. But credit to the New Madrid defense. They really stepped up the pressure, got the ball back, and really opened up the passing game, and got some big plays for some touchdowns that carry the victory over the Bearcats. So New Madrid County Central moves to 3-0. They go to Doniphan. I don't know if they go to Doniphan. They have Doniphan on the schedule next week, and they're going to be well favored in that game, as Doniphan is 0-3 so far this year. So New Madrid could easily go to 4-0 next week. The second half of their schedule really toughens up. They get into their conference play. They got a conference game with Caruthersville. That'll be a big game, as they do share the district now. New Madrid County Central in Class 2, District 1 now, moving down from Class 3. So it's going to be very interesting how they match up with Caruthersville in a potential district matchup. Also, the CMO Central Conference matchup is going to be big for the conference as well. They do have the Hayti Indians on the schedule. They've got Sykeston, which should be a competitive matchup, and also Potosi. So second half of New Madrid's schedule will toughen up, but that'll be a nice challenge to see what these Eagles have for the remainder of the season as we get closer to district play. It will be interesting to see. New Madrid County Central football's back. They had a tough handful of years, but bounced back with an impressive year last year, and certainly with a great start this year. So we'll see what these Eagles have going forward. They look really good early on. And take a look at Jackson. Big rivalry matchup between those two, Jackson and Cape Central, but no problem. Jackson really hasn't had any problem in their schedule so far. No different last night over the Cape Central Tigers, 35-0 with that shutout victory, and moving up those state rankings as well. So we'll take a look at that in a moment. The Jackson Indians with that shutout victory over Cape Central. And Cape Central was looking good. I think they came into the game 2-0, both teams at 2-0, but Jackson getting that big victory over Cape Central last night. And Kennett, talk about these Kennett Indians again. Kennett shutting out St. Genevieve 33-0. Harrell having the big game for the Kennett Indians. Marcavon Harrell, the senior running back and defensive back, and 130 rushing yards on the night for Harrell. And he's the core of that team, especially in the backfield for the Indians. Big night for him. Bodie Ellis had a pretty good night, passing 6 of 9 for 98 yards, so over 10 yards an attempt from him, making big yardage when the attempts are there, and just getting contributions from a lot of kids on both sides of the ball. When you look at their box score, I mean, Harrell really stands out in this game, but you look at their box score over the last couple of weeks, it's just been a lot of kids putting up good numbers. You don't just see the outstanding performances in just each individual player, but you just see good numbers across the board, and just turns out to be 30 and 40 plus point victories for the Kennett Indians so far this year. But that's the way it's been, getting great consistent contributions out of quite a few players for the Indians, and that bodes well. It means you don't have to ride one running back or ride your quarterback all the way through the season. That really opens them up for potential of injury. And Indians have really spread the ball out offensively and defense. Seems like a bunch of kids are making plays across the board on that Kennett Indian roster. So, Coach Joel White doing a great job once again this year, off to a great start. And we'll see what happens going forward. But these Kennett Indians got it rolling, and coming off a strong year last year, and just looking to continue that this year. So look out. The Indians looking good, really good early on, and no sign of slowing down so far. And we'll have about 3 more games of theirs in the schedule going forward. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how their schedule plays out as the season progresses. And also Crothersville having a big night in Valley Catholic, probably the game of the week in the area, 38-35 over Valley Catholic. And quarterback Devin Russell has had a great season so far. He's going to be a contender for that Card Trophy by the end of the year, I'm afraid. And really having a great season for the Crothersville Tigers. He's got 4 touchdowns last night. I think 2 passing, 2 rushing, and also an interception on the defensive end. So getting it done on both sides of the ball. Devin Russell, big time performance from him last night, and they needed it. Valley Catholic, competitive team once again this year, and Crothersville getting that victory. I think that was on the road up at St. Genevieve up there at Valley. But, impressive victory for Crothersville against Valley Catholic, and they moved to 3-0 as well. So Crothersville rolling through their schedule early on, and Devin Russell having a great early season so far, and 4 TDs along with an interception. You pretty much call him probably the player of the week throughout the area, Devin Russell for the Crothersville Tigers. And as I mentioned, Crothersville and New Madrid, that's going to be coming up in the schedule later on, so that's going to be a great matchup there between those two, and we'll see what happens. Seymour Central is going to be very competitive with those two, and we'll be seeing them next week as they take on Portageville. They'll be traveling to Vic Reeves Athletic Field and Portageville. We'll have them live right here on YHC next Friday night as they take on the Portageville Bulldogs. So a good chance to see the Crothersville Tigers live right here on Channel 21 and YHCTV.com and Facebook Live. So look forward to that next Friday night. And those are the main football storylines from the area. An impressive week once again, and we'll be getting into more football as we go forward. It's getting exciting, and we're getting a good glimpse of what these teams have. Coming in, it's just speculation based off last year and players coming back from last year, and players stepping up from upperclassmen to lowerclassmen up to the upperclassmen to see what players are going to contribute. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But now we're starting to see what teams have and kind of able to look ahead to these future matchups over the next few weeks and seeing what they're going to be like. So pretty exciting to see what we're seeing here over the last few weeks, how these teams are starting to stack up against each other. And really kind of you can start to look forward to district play and see the matchups that might potentially be taking place and see how they might play out. So it's really exciting early on to see how it's playing out here early this season. So we'll see what happens going forward. It's exciting. And we'll take another quick break, and we're going to be back with some football state rankings for the state of Missouri. We're seeing some local teams get into these rankings. We'll be back with those coming up.
Hey folks, it's hot out here, but the deals are even hotter. Like this late model Equinox starting under $300 per month, or a Ford Focus starting $149 per month, or several pre-owned Ford Escapes under $200 per month. Baldwin Ford Lincoln Toyota, home of the lifetime warranty.
The end of summer sales event going on here at Baldwin Ford Lincoln Toyota. With pre-owned RAV4 starting under $200 per month, plus a great selection of Tacomas, 4Runners, and Sienna vans. Baldwin Ford Lincoln Toyota, home of the lifetime warranty.
And welcome back. Now let's take a look at some state rankings for the state of Missouri for this week. These will not reflect last night's games. They're after week 2 earlier this week for the state rankings. Take a look at Class 1 state rankings for this week. Lincoln, the Lincoln Cardinals on top at number 1. And they are 2-0 on the year. They were the runner-up to the Hayti Indians last year in the state championship. They are on top at number 1 still. 2, Pierce City. 3, Mid Buchanan. 4, Thayer Bobcats up into that top 5 at number 4. At number 5, Valley Catholic right there at number 5. 6, Marceline. 7, Adrian. 8, Carlton. 9, the Hayti Indians. They move up from 10 to 9 this week. And at number 10, Westran. Westran was up at, I believe, at number 2 or number 3 last week, taking a loss and moved down to number 10 in the state rankings this week. And moving on to Class 2, Cardinal Ritter on top at number 1. They were at number 2, and they move up to number 1, and 2-0 on the year, and a two-way tie for number 2, Lathrop and Lutheran North. At number 4, Lamar, they move up from 5th. They're up at number 4 now at 2-0 on the year, coming into last night, and they're at number 4. At 5, Maryville, followed by Centralia, Ava, Clark County, Palmyra, and Macon, rounding out the top 10 in Class 2. And looks like Trinity moves out of there. Interesting. Trinity will, I think they move out of that top 10, Trinity Catholic. And moving on to Class 3. Oh, excuse me. Trinity's moved up to Class 3 this year. I did not see that. So get to that. Blair Oaks at number 1 at 2-0 on the year. At number 2, Odessa, followed by Mount Vernon. Trinity Catholic moving up to Class 3. They are Class 3. I'm getting mixed up here. They were Class 2 years ago, but yeah, they've been Class 3. They won the Class 3 state championship last year, so a little out of it right here. And at number 4, Trinity Catholic. They're 0-2 though. 2 early losses for Trinity Catholic, the defending Class 3 state champions. At number 5, St. Charles West. At number 6, Southern Boone, followed by Cassville, Booneville, and the Kennett Indians moving into the top 10. At number 9, 2-0 and now 3-0 after last night. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kennett starts to move up, especially if we see some losses in front of them in the polls. So Kennett Indians in that top 10, followed by St. Francis Borgia, who's at 1-1 at number 10. And in Class 4, Ladue stays on top at number 1, followed by Camdenton. 3, Webb City. 4, Country Day. 5, West Plains. 6, Smithville. 7, Kearney. 8, Platte County. 9, St. Mary's. And two-way tie for 10th, but the first one is Green Valley. So there's your top 10. And moving on to Class 5. Class 5, we got Fort Zumwalt North at undefeated coming into last night. They stayed on top of number 1, followed by Carthage. Staley, the Jackson Indians move up from 5 to 4 in the poll this week. So the Jackson Indians moving up that poll each week, it seems like, up to number 4, undefeated at 3-0 after last night over Cape Central. Look out for the Indians, and they're not sneaking up on anybody for sure, as they're at number 4 there in Class 5. At 5, Chaminade, followed by Eureka, Battle, North Kansas City, Vianney, and Raytown. So there's your top 10 in Class 5 coming into this week. And as you see there, quite a few local teams getting in there in the top 10. We see Kennett in there in the top 10 in Class 3. I would not be surprised if we see Crothersville start to itch into that top 10 poll, and perhaps even New Madrid. New Madrid's had some dominant victories here early on. That's usually what it takes, getting into that poll, going undefeated and getting some decisive dominant victories. And both those teams have it, Crothersville and New Madrid, especially Crothersville getting a victory over state-ranked Valley Catholic, although they are in Class 1. And Crothersville in Class 2, wouldn't be surprised if we see Crothersville itch into that top 10, crack that top 10 in Class 2 this next week. And they got the resume before them here at 3 early victories, including a state-ranked victory over Valley Catholic in Class 1. So wouldn't be surprised if we see Crothersville crack that top 10, and maybe even New Madrid County Central down the way. So we'll see. Very exciting seeing some of these local teams in the top 10 state rankings so far this year. All right, we're going to take another break, and we're going to wrap up with some college football and NFL preview taking place this weekend, and we'll be back with that coming up.
At Glen Sain, we're going to sell more Chevrolet cars and trucks between now and January the 1st than we've ever sold before. Listen to this. New Chevrolet Malibu, $19,458, $99 down, $299 a month. A 2019 Silverado, list price $48,080, your cost $34,970. What a savings. GlenSainParagould.com, best price, best service. Glen Sain, God bless our church.
And welcome back, and now let's take a look at some college football taking place today here on Saturday, and take a look at some matchups. The Arkansas Razorbacks into conference play now in the SEC. Got a tough one at third-ranked Georgia. That's a tough one right there for the Razorbacks today on the road against third-ranked Georgia, and I believe I can't remember the odds on that one. Didn't get to take a look at that. I think it was around 30-point spread on that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That one's already underway, so yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Georgia and Arkansas later on today for the Razorbacks. 6th-ranked Ohio State at Indiana. Big Ten matchup there. Pittsburgh at 13th-ranked Penn State. New Mexico at 7th-ranked Notre Dame. Also, we have 2nd-ranked Alabama at South Carolina. SEC matchup there as Alabama goes on the road against South Carolina. Stanford at 17th-ranked UCF. Central Florida, big matchup there. Stanford going all the way across the country from California to Orlando to take on Central Florida. And could be a nice matchup there. Stanford was ranked last week, I think 25th, 24th, 25th. Took a loss to USC at USC, and could be a difficult matchup for them today, taking on UCF. 24th ranked USC, they were unranked last week, got a victory over Stanford last week. They cracked the top 25. They are on the road against BYU. BYU getting a victory over Tennessee last week, and on the road at Knoxville. And going to have another tough opponent hosting USC. Should be a good matchup later on today. 13th ranked Iowa at Iowa State. In-state rivalry there between those two. 9th ranked Florida at Kentucky. Top ranked Clemson at Syracuse in the ACC. And also we have Hawaii at 23rd ranked Washington. And our local team, Southeast Missouri State Redhawks taking on Missouri. Taking on Missouri here this afternoon, and Southeast, I think they're they had them down as about 33-point underdogs, but hey, give them a shot. So in-state game there, Southeast Missouri State at Missouri. Southeast looking good early on, getting a couple of victories early on in the season. So hopefully they can continue that out and put up a good performance up at Faroe Field in Columbia this afternoon. And excuse me, that I thought that was wrong. I thought that was reading that wrong, but it's Arkansas State at Georgia. Got that wrong. It's not the Razorbacks. It is Arkansas State at third-ranked Georgia. So local ASU Red Wolves on the road with a very tough very tough game today. That one's underway, but Arkansas State big-time underdogs in that one. But big matchup, great opportunity for the Red Wolves to be competitive in that game. So we'll see what happens there. And moving on to some NFL football this weekend. The 49ers at the Bengals, the Chargers at the Lions, the Vikings at the Packers. Big-time NFC North matchup there, both getting Week 1 victories. The Vikings decisively over the Falcons, and the Packers beating the Bears on the road in Chicago. So a big NFC North matchup there between those two, and Green Bay 2.5 home favorites, 2.5-point favorites against the Vikings here this weekend. And also we have the Colts at the Titans, AFC South matchup there. The Titans got a nice road victory over the Browns. The Colts took a road loss to the Chargers, so the Titans could get a big step on the Colts in that AFC South with a victory at home in Nashville. And the point spread on that one, Tennessee 3.5-point home favorites against the Colts. The Patriots at the Dolphins, wouldn't expect much there. Dolphins just looked awful against the Ravens at home last week. And the Patriots looked great in their opener with the Steelers, and New England's 18.5-point road favorites against the AFC East foe, Miami Dolphins. And also we have the Seahawks at the Steelers. Should be a good matchup there. The Steelers looking to bounce back off that Patriots loss. And the Seahawks also 1-0. Got a win last week narrowly. Got a narrow victory over the Bengals, I believe it was. So Pittsburgh 3.5-point favorites at home in that one. Cowboys at the Redskins, NFC East matchup there. Dallas 6-point favorites in that one on the road against Washington. Boy, I tell you, the Cowboys looked really good against the Giants, and the Redskins looked good for a half against the Eagles. Just couldn't get anything going in the second half. Got I think it was a 17-0 lead on the Eagles, and the Eagles erupted in the second half. But the Redskins looked good in the first half. And should be a good NFC East matchup there this weekend. We got the Cardinals at the Ravens, two of the probably more captivating quarterbacks. The quarterback for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, had a big week last week against the Dolphins, 5 touchdown passes. Kyler Murray really struggled early on for pretty much 2.5, 3 quarters. And their home opener against the Lions, he looked really rough, but had a really good fourth quarter. He put together a fourth quarter, got into a rhythm. They forced it into overtime to an eventual tie against the Lions. So that's certainly a game to see two of the more interesting quarterbacks in the league here this year, Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. And the point spread in that one, Baltimore is 13-point home favorites. So a lot of betting money on the Ravens for this weekend. Also, we got the Chiefs at the Raiders in it, or an AFC West matchup there, as Kansas City got their opening victory over the Jaguars. The Raiders had an impressive Monday night victory over the Broncos. So should be a decent AFC West matchup there, as the Chiefs are 7-point road favorites. And should be a good one. Tyreek Hill out this week and will be probably 4 to 6 weeks from an injury in that game against the Jaguars last week. And we got the Saints at the Rams, and who could forget the NFC Championship last year, and a controversial non-call pass interference on the Rams really opened the door for them to take that victory against the Saints in that NFC Championship game. Rematch, it's in LA this time at the LA Coliseum. The Saints will have to go on the road and a rematch of that NFC Championship game. The LA Rams are 1.5-point favorites, but they did not look good last week against a weak Panthers team. They did not look good. They escaped with a victory last week. Saints looked pretty good last week, getting a last drive, field goal drive to win that game over the Texans. I think I would expect the Saints to look really good in that one. They'll be motivated, and they looked a lot better than the Rams last week. But we'll see what happens in that NFC. That'll be the game of the week on the Fox afternoon game. I think it's a 3:25 game of the week on Fox. Should be a good one. Yep, 3:25 Sunday afternoon on Fox. And Sunday night football, the Eagles at the Falcons. And the Eagles getting a come from behind victory over the Redskins last week. The Falcons struggled against the Vikings on the road, but the Falcons will have their home opener Sunday night football taking on the Eagles. Should be a good one. And that NFC. And Monday night football, got the Browns going on the road to take on the New York Jets. The Cleveland Browns looked rough, took a 30-point pounding from the Titans last week at home. Going to have to go on the road, taking on the Jets. Sam Darnold going to be out. He's got mono. He'll be out in that Monday night football game. I don't even know who the backup quarterback is there. I think McCown maybe. I think McCown might be the backup quarterback there now. But that's your Monday night football matchup. And Browns certainly, as much hype as they've had coming into this season, need to try to get a victory on the road against a weakened New York Jets team. The Jets did not look good last week. Them and the Bills, both teams really didn't look that good, but the Jets really just didn't get anything going offensively at all. So we'll see what happens there. Monday Night Football, the Browns and the Jets. Almost seems like it should be a Thursday night game, but it's a pretty interesting matchup. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, young quarterbacks, two of the better younger quarterbacks, but Sam Darnold going to be out with mono, and we'll see if the Browns can bounce back from that loss last week to the Titans. And that's pretty much all we got for you this week. And again, take a look at our broadcast schedule looking at next week. Next Friday night, we'll have Chaffee at Portageville coming to you live right here on Channel 21 here on YHC TV, also at YHCTV.com and Facebook Live. Only one broadcast next week, but it will be live here on Channel 21. So look forward to that one right here on YHC. And that's going to wrap it up for us today. We appreciate you for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next time. And be sure to tune in for us each Saturday morning, live at 10 a.m. right here on Channel 21 on New Wave, YHCTV.com, and Facebook and YouTube pages online. And we'll see you next time. And until then, have a great week. Take care, everyone.